I spent 30 days in Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord fighting only tournaments. Starting out as a pitiful slave without any clothing, weapons and even food, I fought, failed, trained and triumphed to become the god of the arena. And even managed to obtain the weapon of my dreams. Wanna know how? Here we go. There he stands, the man, the legend. Torny McWinnington. He has no weapons, no horse, no clothing and not even the least amount of food to feed himself. The only thing he has is his strength. At least he was good at combat because that's all he ever did. With 7 figure he really knew how to pack a punch. The first skill I took was Basher, hoping to get a few shields in the arena and be able to stun some guys with it. For two-handed I picked a strong grip because I liked the better handling. Time to become master of the arena. The first thing I did was heading to Poros. We need to get to any town just to find out where the tournaments are held. The big risk here was getting caught by bandits. I was incapable of defending myself and had a ridiculous slow map speed because I had no horse.
6.5 hours later.
Luckily, I made it to Poros without any bandit encounters. I checked in at the tournament master and found out the first tournaments are held at Sionica and Sanala. But first, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. Thank you so much. To get from tournament to tournament, I needed a horse, but I had no money at all. Yeah, I got 2 dinars. Whoop-de-doo. In Poros, I got to the arena master and started practice fights. Although tedious and slow, this would be my initial income until I made enough to buy a horse and maybe some clothing. On the plus side, fighting the practice fights does level up my skill in real life as well as in game, not gonna lie. And magically, time doesn't pass in the arena. So I could just spend as much time as I want here. Every streak of 3 kills would get me a total of 5 dinars. A streak of 6 gave me 10 dinars and a streak of 10 would give me a whopping 25 dinars. The cheapest horse I was able to get was around 300 dinars. But my fighting skill was a bit, how shall I call it, rusty. Yeah, I died a lot. Spent a freaking hour wrestling these hairy boys in this hellhole for 272 dinars, which was a lot of fun. Once I got the dinars, I remembered a trick I saw a while back and I bought all the pigs I was able to afford, slaughtered them and sold the meat and the hide back for a bit of profit. I doubled the amount of money I had this way and yeah, if I thought of this trick before, it could have saved me an hour of my life. Anyway, I wasn't skilled enough to ride any of the horses they sold in town, so I headed to Carnaros, a nearby village that sold more expensive horses that I was able to ride. I went back to Poros, bought myself a saddle, mounted up and headed to the first arena, Sionica. Upon entering Sionica, I picked up the second two-handed skill, Swift Strike, which gave me a plus 2% swing speed with one-handed weapons. I also picked the athletic skill, Morning Exercise. This increased my movement speed in battle. These skills would really help me out during the tournaments. Oh yeah, and I bought myself this fancy leather hat. Yeah, don't ask me why, I just did it. Now, it was finally time for the first tournament. The price of this tournament was a horse, which I probably wasn't able to ride, but, you know, might be worth it anyway. I really had to play this first tournament carefully. In tournaments, you are given a set weapon, but you do take your own armor. Since I didn't have any armor yet, I was really vulnerable. Enemies could potentially one-hit me. The first round, my opponent was fighting defensively. I managed to hit him 2 times and block most of his incoming attacks, but then he swung past my defense and managed to hit me. But then, after a tense exchange, I managed to kill him with a slash. 1 battle won, but we still had 3 to go. The second round was going to be a team fight. The odds were against me in this one, especially without any protection. I had to play this sneaky. I used the AI against them, letting them grab each other's attention while I kited them around. They happily killed each other until the blue team split up. I engaged with the crossbowman and dispatched him pretty quickly. I waited until blue and green fought out their dispute, until Tephalos killed his enemy and turned his anger towards me. He was already low on health and was an easy prey for Torny McWinnington. The third round was a 2v2 with archers, which made it tricky. I wanted to take out the archer first, but Tephalos recognized me from the previous fight and aggroed on me. After a quick exchange of blades, he fell to the ground. I turned to the archer, but luckily, he wasn't much of a sword fighter. It was now time for the finale. My heart was beating furiously. If I lost this, I would lose all of my money and the sweet prize horse. Nemo's was a worthy opponent. His defense was strong and I couldn't fight that aggressive anymore because I had taken damage in the beginning of the fight. I had to watch out for his quick blade. But then, I did it. My sword hit him right where it bleeds and I won the fight. I won the tournament and the prize horse was mine. I went to the trader to barter from some dinars, but the horse was worth a freaking 16k. That was just insane. 16k from the first tournament. It's just like the third day of the playthrough. This is just crazy. It's such a good amount of money. I just went spending it right away. There wasn't a lot of choice for clothing in Sionica, so I just bought myself some basic clothing just to not walk around in my undies. Fueled with confidence from the previous fight, I asked the arena master where the tournament was going to be next, and it was Artesia, which was pretty close, just a day's travel away. After a quiet journey, I arrived at Artesia. Sadly, the trader didn't have any picks for me to slaughter and sell back, so I jumped straight into the tournament. This time the prize was a nice helmet, which was great because I didn't have a decent one yet. The first fight was a big team group fight. This really stressed me out big time. The chances of winning these fights were slim, because there's no real way to manipulate them, especially on a horse. But I managed to poke around pretty well and my teammates also did very good. Pretty quickly we managed to win the fight with 3 of us still standing. The second round was a free-for-all, one of the easier fights to do in a tournament. I can just pick fights and fight my enemies one by one. Don't know what was wrong with my first enemy, but it looked like he was sleeping. And with only the crossbowman left, I was able to clap him with ease. The third match was a sword and shield against the crossbowman, which was also pretty easy. And then it was time for the finale, against an Imperial Cataphract. This was a tough guy with a quick shield arm. After a pretty even fight, I was able to kill him with a quick flurry of attacks. Turney won his second tournament. The helmet wasn't all that good and was only worth about 700 dinars, but I still got the renown and the fighting experience. Though the fighting experience didn't prepare me for what was coming next. The next fights were in Dunglanis and Sanala. I picked Sanala because I felt like visiting the Aserai in the desert. I thought those sand eaters would be an easy prey for me. The prize was a beautiful sword. This was going to be the match. The first round I started as an archer and managed to survive pretty easily. The second match wasn't all that easy. It went pretty well until one of the one-handed guys got a lucky hit on me and dropped my HP pretty badly. Not long after that, it happened again, and I lost my first tournament. And most of all, I lost that beautiful sword. That was so sad. After that, I went to Askar, also in the Aserai Empire. The next tournament was going to be held here. Luckily, it was an all-melee one, and I managed to win it pretty quickly. The prize was a mace, which was cool and all, but it was nothing like the pretty sword I lost before. Out of self-pity, I bought myself a camel and called her Clara. I would ride in style in the lands of Calradia. But sadly, none of the towns on our way back out of the Aserai lands sold a saddle for it, so I had to sell Clara again. With a sad feeling about Clara, I traveled to Charas for the next tournament, where I arrived at day 10. The prize of this tournament was a very good helmet, so I fought for my life to try and get it. That helm would be an amazing addition to my armor set and would really add to the winning chance of future tournaments. I managed to win the tournament and this helm was just so freaking good. It was also worth 16k, it was just amazing. I did keep it just for the armor, but wow, what a thing. I went to the tavern and checked for wanderers, because traveling alone was getting a bit lonely. And there he was. Solucios the Bull. What a great name. You're hired. The next tournament was in Yucatan. The fights right here were pretty manageable. Because of my unmatched skill and the increasingly better armor, the fights were getting easier and easier. In Yucatan, I found my next companion, Akir Bloodaxe. I took him because he was cheap. Oh yeah, and I still didn't have any civilian clothing. Whoops. The next tournament was in Ox Hall. Upon arriving, I went to the tavern and hired a 60-year-old girl complaining about bad wine. Yep. In the second round of the tournament, I had to fight against my friend Akir. Oh, sorry, bro. He wanted revenge on the second round, but he proved no match for me. The last fight was a kinda sketchy horseback fight, but I still managed to kill him. I was winning and winning every tournament I got to. It was the same with the one in Carben Seth. All went well until I headed to Dunglanis. Fights were all pretty easy, until I got to the finale. There, I was matched against Caladog. I had no idea who it was, so I had no idea what to expect. After the first exchange, I already felt it. Caladog is a sweaty swordlord. Just look at him go, blocking everything and parrying all of my strikes. I really underestimated him, and I lost. This was a big setback for Tourney's ego. Luckily, he managed to crawl back up with renewed confidence and won all of the upcoming tournaments. The fight in Seonen was tough, but managed to win. Rotea won. Parchek, yeah, I was just a little bit late for the tournament. Oopsie. After that, went to Omor and won. I bought some civilian clothing and went to Diatma and won the tournament. After all those winnings, disaster was about to strike. I went to Teal for the next tournament, and upon arrival I saw it. The prize of this tournament was a blade called Tearhung, a real Viking one-handed sword. I had to have it. I entered the arena, and then it happened. I crossed blades with Osvan, a crazy sturgeon berserker or something. He was so fast, so quick. I couldn't get out of his raging aim. He clapped me in the first round. I was really sad. No Tearhung for me. With my tail between my legs, I went to the Khazad Empire, to Balthakand, far away from the Sturgeon lands and their crazy warriors. It was day 30 already, so this was going to be my last fight. I entered the tournament and, as a gift from the heavens, there it was again, Tearhung. How did it end up here? A Nordic blade all the way down the lands of the Khuzad? My heart was pounding. I really had to win this. I had to get the blade, and it was also my last chance to get it. The first round was tough. We were all mounted and started out as horse archers. Not good at all. But I managed to hit some of the guys, and my teammates were also doing very well. With their support, I managed to win the first round. And the next round, it was exactly the same fight. And also managed to win. The third round was pretty rough. I had a companion on horseback who was taken out pretty quickly. I was now up against a 2v1. I managed to dodge the horseman and poke the spearman to death, after which I turned to the horseman. He ran straight into my spear and the round was over. And there it was. The finale. My final chance to obtain Tearhung. I was up to fight against Bagai, a big guy who knew how to block. I couldn't get any hits through. I started to panic, but managed to keep my head calm. I tried feinting my attacks and he didn't seem to be able to counter that, which became his downfall. I did it. I killed Bagai and I got Tearhung. I spent 30 days doing only tournaments and got a shiny blade. In those 30 days I made 40k, which could have been more if I sold all the equips that I got. This was a great play. I really enjoyed it. And this is exactly how I played Warband, starting out as an arena fighter in the beginning until I got some better armor and then started to play my campaign. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really had a great time making this video. Please stay tuned by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time. Later!